everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. We are really excited today to be starting our Thanksgiving coverage. It is going to be pretty crazy. I think we have 6 recaps scheduled over this 10-day period, which is kind of nuts, but we're really looking forward to it. This is our first one that we're talking about the first 2 films of this Thanksgiving period. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and I have with me another film critic. So exciting to have Alonso Duralde here. And thank you so much, Alonso, for coming on the podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me. Yes, it is a big week ahead, so let's
Yeah.
gotta hit them as they come up.
Yeah, get your green and red Gatorade going strong. this this next period is going to be intense. But it's been a bit since you were last on our podcast, so we have some new listeners. Why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners if people
Sure.
are new?
I'm the film reviews editor at a website called The Wrap, and I host 4 podcasts now. Linoleum Knife, we just celebrated our 10th anniversary. It's that I do with my husband, Dave White. And then also Breakfast All Day, Who Shot Ya, and A Film and a Movie, which just started up this summer. And we just had our 25th episode. And then for our purposes here, I am the author of the book called Have Yourself a Movie Little Christmas, which is a guide to holiday films. And it's pretty much focused mainly on theatrical movies. I think there's a couple of made-for-TV movies from the 70s in there, but I don't dig in too hard on. I hadn't really had my conversion moment yet to the Hallmark movies, but I'll be covering, or not really me, but I'm collaborating with the hosts of Deck the Hallmark on their book, which will be coming out in fall of 2021.
That's really exciting. Yeah, how long have you been actively watching these Hallmark films?
I want to say for about the last 4 or 5 years, probably. I think, and I always tell the story. My friend William Bibiani, who you've had on the show, was in a car accident. He janked up his knee, spent all of November and December on the couch, and just sort of got sucked into the Hallmark vortex and started describing these movies to me. And I thought, okay, this sounds bizarre. I got to check this out. And suddenly I found myself in there as well. So yeah, I would say probably starting about 2015, 2016, and then it just became this thing where, it is the Pokemon of holiday movies where you can't just watch one of them. You have to watch all of them.
That's right. Yeah. So how do you think that 2020 has stacked up compared to these other years that you've seen?
I'll tell you, you can tell the difference. There's something going on over there. I don't know if it is the fact that Crown Media got a new CEO this year, and they're really trying to sort of actively shake out some of the cobwebs. I don't know if it's that, you recently hosted a discussion with the director and producer of Two Turtle Doves, which was my favorite movie from last year. And they talked about how, because of the pandemic this year, and Hallmark deciding early on, like, we're putting all of our eggs in the Christmas basket. Like, we're not going to work so much on like the summer movies and the fall movies. Like, it's really, Christmas is our priority. So maybe that meant some of these scripts went through a somewhat more arduous development process. I don't know what the cause is, but I know the effect has been the movies seem smarter this year. The movies don't have the kind of contrived, oh, I overheard a conversation and that means we're going to break up, stuff as much. And there hasn't been as, to the point where I think they're even kind of goofing on some of the tried and true cliches of these movies. Like, I think in Royal Holiday, where they have to move the location of the Christmas ball, and somebody says, "Well, what about the barn?" And somebody says, "The space heaters. It would be a fire hazard." Like just stuff like that, where it's like, "Oh, okay, these are inside jokes about what we're expecting these movies to do." So yeah, I think overall it's been a pretty good year. What we'll be talking about maybe reflects that less, but generally speaking, I think so far 2020 is off on a good foot. What about you?
I agree. I don't know if it's just having those extra like 2-3 months where there was that uncertainty, and so they're just working on scripts. I don't know. but uh, or just tough times bring out the best in people. I don't know, but I agree. I mean, honestly, there isn't any that I haven't found any of them to be unwatchable.
Well,
Uh, and
that's your
last
bar.
year, yeah, well, I mean, but last year they started with one that, in my opinion, was pretty unwatchable with
Oh,
Merry Christmas Match.
this is true. Yes.
That was terrible, and so usually they have one that as I joke on the podcast, takes me to a dark place that I hate,
we
and I
haven't
haven't
had a
had
we haven't had a cheerful Christmas yet this year.
no, we haven't had any like that. And like I famously really, really don't like the Finding Father movies.
Mm.
There's different ones that just aren't for me. And so far this year, I don't know if it's also because I'm just a softie this year and just
True. Yeah.
liking things.
We're all in a vulnerable place. That's
Yeah.
definitely the case. But I know I think you can point to things where you're like, okay, this is not a thing that we would have seen in 2019. Like,
Hmm.
for example, the scene in the Christmas Bow where there's the flashback to the grandmother with dementia who was sort of
Oh,
brought out of her fugue state by hearing the granddaughter play the violin, which is an actual medical thing. There's a really great documentary about it called Alive Inside that's on Amazon
oh,
Prime. But like I think old Hallmark movies were like, oh no, too sad, too illnessy. We're not going to do that. And now they're open to venturing out, and we're seeing it. Obviously in the diversity and the fact that we're getting interracial relationships. That tonight we have a gay couple being prominently
mhm.
featured in Christmas House. But I think in a lot more subtle ways, a lot more granular ways, these movies feel like, hey, yes, we have a formula, and yes, people tune in because they like the X, Y, and Z of these movies. But what if we, tried to mix it up a little? What if we tried to be a little smarter? What if we tried to be a little, let's challenge ourselves a little bit? And for the most part, I think I feel like that's what I'm seeing in
Yeah.
this year's films.
Yeah, they're not like perfect movies by any means, but I don't know if the so far my least favorite is the Christmas Chalet
Oh, okay.
one, and it wasn't that bad. It was
Yeah,
fine.
it was very standard 2019.
Yeah, yeah. uh, and so and to be honest, I've been probably more disappointed with the Netflix lineup, and they've been okay,
Mhm.
but maybe my expectations were just too high for some of them. Like I don't know, they just feel like for the most part their lineup has not been as good as I wanted it to be.
Well, I know you and I disagree on Holiday, but
Yeah.
I really admire Jingle Jangle. I mean,
Hmm.
it's a bit
Yeah.
much, but like give me a bit much over not enough any day, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I gave it a fresh, so I
Mhm.
liked it.
Sure.
It just I was hoping to love it. And so again, maybe my expectations were it just the story was a little messy, but
Yeah,
it's fun.
there are whole chunks you could take out and not really affect the plot, I think. But yeah, I did just a looking at it, and I thought the songs
Yeah.
were nice, and yeah, I'll be curious to see how the Netflix stuff plays out. I thought Princess Switch 2 was fine. I thought the Christmas Drop was fine. I think we're still embargoed from talking about Dolly Parton, so we'll talk about Dolly Parton
Okay.
later. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Interesting. So I mean, and it's just it's incredible to that they have so many movies. I mean, between it's just unbelievable to me that Lifetime and Hallmark and it seems like Lifetime have more acquisitions
Yeah.
than Hallmark, but just the fact that they somehow managed to between the two of them make over 70 movies is just it's unbelievable.
No, absolutely. Given the year that we had, I really thought we were going to be getting a lot of like, oh, we're going to do this like a radio play or something.
Yeah.
And no, they just
Yeah.
they found a way to like forge through and do their thing, and it's like,
Unbelievable.
I think, uh, and certainly like, and it's not like everybody else has figured this out. I mean, every day I'm reading
Yeah.
about, oh, this TV production shut down for 2 weeks because of positive testing,
Yeah.
and obviously shooting in Canada is different than shooting in LA because Canada really got their act together in a better, in a more
Yeah.
effective way than we did when it comes to this stuff. But yeah, I mean, there's really nothing else on TV right now that I think has the track record where these guys are like, nope, business as usual. We are giving you a season, and they're
Yeah.
doing it.
figured it out. I mean, I think that we'll talk about it in Nashville Christmas Carols. The first one that I think noticeably was affected by COVID in the most way so far,
Mhm.
that I think because it was filmed in the States, that, obviously things like the fact that the big finale is the rehearsal, that wouldn't be the case if without COVID.
Yeah, definitely. Although that was a movie that clearly was already going to be leaning so much on green screen for the special effects that I think, they were able to kind of squeeze that one by. But like I'm already forgetting, what's the Lifetime one where you did the Q&A with the director?
Oh, with a Twinkle All the Way,
No, yes, but
or
this
for this
year's.
year.
The one because that was also shot in Nashville, and they pulled it off pretty well. The one,
Oh,
the
yeah.
military one with
Oh,
Santa.
oh, yeah. Oh, Welcome Home Christmas.
Yes, that one.
Yeah, same director.
Right. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah,
Yeah, like that one was also shot in Tennessee, and like I didn't see the seams. Like it felt like
yeah,
there were crowds and there needed to be crowds.
yeah. I liked that one. That one was pretty
Yeah,
good.
it was charming.
And there's one thing I was curious of your thoughts about. So it has been really nice having the escapism of these movies,
Hmm.
but also it's been a little bit hard because, like, some things like in Christmas Chalet, that it's been a little bit hard for me sometimes to see things that we're missing.
Mm.
I don't know if you felt any of that, like see the festivals, see people going out, see the concerts, the gatherings, other stuff like that. So I felt like it's been sort of bittersweet.
I think I really hadn't. I mean, I've been kind of half looking for that and sort of looking for like, okay, where this normally would have been, 25 people, and now it's 4. I'd say the first time that's really come up for me really is, and one of the ones we're going to talk about today with Feliz NaviDAD. It seemed like there were moments where I was like, this seems really sparse.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's just for it's just at the same time that it's escapism to see these things in 2020. It's also kind of, oh, I miss that. I miss.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah,
And I think again, I think so much of what makes the Hallmark movies effective is, I always sort of jokingly say it's like it's a delivery system for, tree lightings and cookie cutting and all of
yeah,
this kind of stuff that people may or may not get to actually do, in the season. And I think that's so much why these movies are about going home and being with your family. And I think that really rings a bell for, here's the thing. My husband's mom had a stroke years ago and was in a nursing home for a long time. And I think of the Hallmark movies as kind of being peak nursing home television. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, but I think
yeah,
that they do push a lot of buttons in that way. And so, yeah, in a year in which a lot of us are not going to get to spend the holidays with our family or,
yeah.
do the kind of public celebrations that we might have in years past. I think we feel it more that we're not doing it, but I think that for a lot of audiences, they often don't get to do that. And so that's a niche that these movies fill for them.
That's true. I think that was hard in Chateau Christmas, that seeing them playing this concert, and I just missed the arts so much.
Yeah.
I miss going to concerts so much. This is the first year that I won't go see Christmas Carol live, and that is, I mean,
Mm,
my whole adult life, I've
right.
seen Christmas Carol live, and I technically could see it, but I'm not there yet. Going to theater in the round, live theater in the round, that's for sure.
No, I
But
think you're right.
but I I don't know. I just it's hard. It's hard for me.
It is, and I think for me, it's been honestly, I respect their decision to sort of pretend that this isn't happening in these movies because
Hmm.
in the stuff that I've been taking in that does acknowledge it, like I'm glad they're having that conversation, but at the same time, it's a little, I get a little shaken by it. Like I feel like I'm one of the few people that watched that NBC series. Connecting that was on. It was like a 7-episode
Oh,
show, and it's about a group of friends, staying in touch with each other via Zoom, and it's all set during the
yeah,
pandemic. Like the beginning of each episode tells you exactly what day it is, that we've been going through all this so far. And there's a Halloween episode where a character like has this speech about how like Halloween means a lot to me. We have these traditions. We do them every year. It's killing me that we can't do them, and that
Yeah.
that none of you guys even put on a costume for the Zoom call. And I felt it, and I think that's just where we are this year. So I think in the way that these movies always kind of encourage you to sort of go with the fantasy Christmas that no one's having. I mean, like these people all somehow have jobs and yet have time for a million different, events and stuff. I think this year more than ever we just have to kind of like go with it and
Yeah.
enjoy the fantasy.
Yeah, they did on Freeform. They did "Love in the Time of Corona,"
Right.
which I actually liked. I when I heard about it, I was like, "Oh, that sounds so cringy," but I thought it was I liked it. And again, I think I'm a softie this year when it comes to stuff like this.
Oh, I
But
believe me, I have never cried at more TV commercials in my life.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Well, let's talk about Nashville Christmas Carol as our first movie for
Okay.
this weekend. So this is a stars Jesse Schramm and Wes Brown
Mhm.
and a bunch of country music elites with Winona Judd, Kix Brooks, Sarah Evans, Raylene, and many more. So the summary on this one is: a television producer is forced to work with the man who broke her heart on a country music Christmas special while being interrupted by Christmas spirits determined for her to revisit her past. Uh, and so uh, you and we did a whole episode of the podcast a couple of years ago about Christmas Carol and our favorite versions. Well, and in particularly about female led versions of Christmas Carol, and we talked about the Hallmark version with Carrie Fisher.
Right.
It's Christmas Carol, and that's the as far as I can remember, that's the last time that Hallmark did Christmas Carol, and it hadn't really occurred to me that they hadn't done it in so long. That was 2012.
Yeah, that's true. And I suspect that maybe part of that has to do with the idea of, and I think this is a flaw we're going to get into with this movie.
Yeah.
I think that for Hallmark, the thought of doing a Christmas Carol means, oh, well, we have to create a Scrooge character, and Scrooge characters are really awful, and that's not the vibe we're going for here. And I think that might have been why they shied away from it for a long time. And then I think now with this version, the idea was, well, what if we did a Christmas Carol, but Scrooge was not a terrible person, but just maybe could use some improvement in a few minor areas.
Yeah, it's really interesting because they even not only is she a not a Scrooge character, literally the Bob Cratchit type character in this version is begging to keep working for her. Like,
Please
please,
don't make me go to law school. I
yeah,
want to be
let
your
me,
assistant forever.
let me work for you.
Oh.
It's, I guess overall, what were your overall thoughts about this one?
Oh man, this is my least favorite of the season so
Oh,
far.
okay,
I
yeah,
thought I just felt like this movie hates women for one thing. I mean, like from the mom who abandons the family and is thus the fault of why the lead character is the way she is, to the fact that the lead character really doesn't do that much that's bad. I mean, like we see her be charitable, we see her in a lot of ways she is a compassionate, very unscroogey person. She just can't forgive Wes Brown, who did kind of throw her under the bus, frankly.
uh-huh.
And so it just, the whole thing felt so pointless. Like why? Like if you're going to have dead people come back and show you your life and point out to you what you've done wrong, you need to have done more wrong, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, congratulations, you worked really hard.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, so she's careerist and, but still like, gives gifts to orphans. I'm like, but oh yeah, let's smack her down. Like, I didn't get this movie never explained its own existence to me. I found it all kind of ridiculous. And then, along the way, like, yeah, there are some charming moments. The music is all fine, I think. Winona Judd seems to be having Winona Judd, sorry, seems to be having a very good time. But like, oh my God, Kimberly Williams Paisley, should have known better than that, like, dime store sugar baker accent that she's doing. Like, she's married to a country star. She knows this world, and she is doing this like cartoony, like Blanche Dubois. I'm like, what are you even doing in that dress and with that accent? Stop.
I thought the dress was fine, but the accent was a little much. I feel I didn't I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun enough, but I do feel like it was a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
They had all the pieces to tell a traditional Christmas Carol story, and I don't understand why they didn't just do it. I it reminds me of I was talking to a writer, friend of ours, and she had pitched some idea to Hallmark, and where there was going to be, I forget what it was exactly, but she was told Hallmark heroines are not allowed to do anything illegal ever. And um and
Okay.
yeah, I mean, and they can lie, I guess, about like a fake fiance or
Mm.
something like you occasionally have, but that's about as sort of uh about as deviant as they're going to get in any of these.
Then don't do a Christmas Carol, or like make the male protagonist flawed and have the women fix him or something. But yeah,
Mhm.
this just I remember when they showed the clip of this even on the preview special, and it was just literally a clip of Jesse Stram being a good producer and like pointing things out and fixing something. And I'm like, wait, she's the Scrooge in this? Like, what does she do? What does she do that's so bad? I mean, compare her to Bill Murray in Scrooge, who is also playing an awful TV person. Like,
Yeah,
she
that's
caves on
true.
the let's take the candy billboard off the stage in 2 seconds. Like, if she's a really despicable, like showbiz awful, person, she would have really pushed for that, or like it would have been her idea, whatever. But no, this movie can't commit to what it even is.
Yeah, as mad as she gets, or as bad as she gets, is her getting frustrated about the cookies and the wet paint on
and
the
she even says, "I'm sorry" at the end of that one.
yeah.
Like, that's not a good tantrum if you say "I'm sorry" at the end.
Yeah, the whole point of this movie is about never letting about how she has decided she's not going to let her personal life get in the way of her business, and really she's just kind of not going to have a personal life.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you compare it, I don't know if it was, I think it was 2018, they had on Lifetime, they had a version of Christmas Carol
Oh, right.
with Tony
Tony
Braxton,
Braxton.
which
Yeah, yeah.
had its flaws, but the one thing I really liked about that, I thought it did really well, was that they decided in that version to have uh the ghost be her like the reason why she'd become bitter was that her parents had died in a horrible accident, and she had just kind of closed off because of it. And so the ghosts were her mother, or was the ghost. And I thought that was actually really effective, and every time she saw her mother, I felt it, that how you would feel if
Right.
you'd lost somebody in that kind of trauma, and then seeing your mother again, that would be so upsetting.
Another moment that this movie kind of bobbles, when she's
Hmm.
seeing herself as a child and the mother appears, like that should be a gut punch.
Yeah,
And it's just sort of like, oh, my mom.
that's true. Yeah, I mean, it's more her seeing her young self, and young Gavin,
Yeah.
than seeing her mom. Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't really thought of that, but you're right that the sort of the emotional moment is when she sees her the next year, her sister getting
Hmm.
the dollhouse and her not getting really any Christmas presents.
Yeah.
And that, yeah. So yeah, what did you think about this relationship between her and her sister?
That seemed. It was kind of one note. It was the I sacrificed everything so you could have a better life. But like, I bought the bond between them. The sort of, oh, I'm the big sister. I get to tell you what to do. Like that. That actually was probably the most successful depiction of a relationship in the movie, and that it felt
Mhm.
genuine. but and again, I think so much of this comes back to like, let's demonize the mom for leaving. I, for one, would like to know maybe why she left. What was the dad like? What was
Mm-hmm.
there's got to be more to that. It just and by skimming over it and by making this whole movie about like, let's teach Jesse Schramm's character a lesson about letting go of the past, whatever this is all about, it just kind of felt like, women, know your place, and like, be either, if you're a mom, stay at home, and if you're a working woman, like, defer to the man or forgive him when he, like, undercuts your career options. I don't know, all of that sat badly with me. But I did think I like the sister relationship. Again, the sister having the secret boyfriend who is black is not something we would have seen on Hallmark 2019. That's
Yeah.
definitely new and different. But it just even like it drives me crazy when movies that are written and created by people in show business get show business stuff so wrong because they don't think audiences can handle it. Like, the record exec would not tell her at a Christmas party, "Oh yeah, we're not using you. We're going with an established director." He would have strung her along, fobbed her off on an assistant, promised to have a meeting with her that never happened. Like, you don't just say at a party, "Oh yeah, no, you're out of here. We're not using you. Beat it." Like, that just doesn't
Yeah,
happen.
that's true. Yeah. And and as far as the I guess I've known so many people who have gone to law school just because I was a
Mm-hmm.
political science major
Yeah,
in college, and if you are not pretty committed to going to law school and becoming a lawyer, don't go to law school.
this is
Like, that
true.
is a bad idea. I mean, I was on Twitter. I was saying, going to law school when you don't really want to is another way of wasting lots of money. I mean, that is just a terrible choice. Don't do it.
No question.
Uh, because it's not like in the past where if you got a degree like that, there was a pretty like guaranteed career that
Right,
you could
waiting for
have.
you.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, well, I'm going to do this. Now there's a lot of law graduates that are working at Target and things. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I mean, just to pay their
Sure.
student loans.
I, I don't know if you
There's
ever, I don't know if you ever saw the "Don't Go to Law School" number from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, but it
yeah,
contains a great deal of wisdom.
yeah, yeah. Don't go to law school unless you want to go to law school. Then go for it. But yeah, I was just kind of like, oh yeah, I would stay being the assistant too, rather than.
I will, I
But
will, I will give Nashville Christmas Carol this. Like, they really are. They were really trying to be ambitious with the special effects, and they were not terrible. The transitions from place to place
yeah,
and that kind of thing.
well, I thought that all of the country music stars were super charming, and they all came and brought it. And I don't know, I really enjoyed Kix Brooks. He almost made me forget Home by Spring, which took me to a dark place. One of the worst Hallmark movies I've ever seen.
uh,
I joked that that's Hallmark's version of Get Out. I hate it so much.
he was pretty hammy, but I mean, like, that's what you hire that guy to
Yeah,
do in that role. So,
yeah.
I'll
Are,
allow
are you?
it.
Would you say that you are a country music fan, or no? Not so much.
Not so much. I mean, I went to college in Nashville, and I definitely, like, there's a period that I know pretty well, like the whole sort of like new
Mhm.
traditionalist Dwight Yoakam, like early Katie Lang period that I was kind of paying attention to it. But I like I said, I know the name Sarah Evans. I didn't really know her work before this, and I her stuff is fine. I liked the original Christmas song that begins and ends the film. The karaoke of Most Wonderful Time of the Year was fine. Um, yeah, and again, I think Winona Judd's maybe the best thing in this movie. So they use that aspect of it pretty well. And I can say this as somebody who has lived in Nashville: it never snows in December.
Oh yeah, yeah,
January,
yeah.
February, maybe.
That you were talking about Feliz NaviDAD, and it was funny because I was like, oh, that's so nice. They didn't even worry about fake snow in this
Ho
movie, and then
ho!
oh my god, I was like, I spoke
Yikes!
too soon.
Yep.
but 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 yeah, and one thing I thought was interesting about this version of Christmas Carol is that I can't think of any other one where it flows from the fantasies to the real life so quickly. Like most of the time it's like, oh, he's got to wake up and then maybe you'll have some things and then he'll have the second
Yeah, that's
spirit.
true.
But this was like in and out, sometimes within a conversation.
Yeah, that is actually a new twist. You're right. I haven't really seen that before in another version where yes, it is Christmas present, and thus it is happening all around you. So now we're going to hop from this place to that place, and so you're right. That is actually was a challenge, and they shook it up. But to have no Christmas future is like that's then
Yeah.
why are we even here?
I mean, and famously, the Carrie Fisher version has only her. She's
Yes,
the only ghost.
discount Afterlife on that movie.
But yeah,
We
the
can have 4 Canadian ghosts, or we can have Carrie Fisher. Take your pick.
and I thought there were actually some nice moments in the script.
Hmm.
That I liked it when Winona says, "I'm more studied on yesterdays than tomorrows,"
Mm.
or I can't remember if it's Kix or Winona. Any one of them said that, and I also liked I thought there was maybe like a wink to 2020 when she says, "I kind of want to hug you" or something. Is that a thing? I kind of like I kind of like that. And Winona says humans got more hearts than sense.
Mm.
And basically, Winona's kind of big Jacob Marley problem was just that she worked hard. That was the main. This is the bad. This is the bad man of business,
Yes.
just in the sense of like working too hard and not forgetting to fall in love.
Which kind of is an ongoing thing in movies that makes me crazy. Like there are so many movies that are probably made by or greenlit by studio executives who spend a lot of time at the office that are about parents realizing that they're not going to all their kids' little league games because they're spending too much time at work, and isn't that terrible, and learning to they're going to do better. And it's like, what economy are we living in now? Like everybody has 2 jobs at least,
Yeah.
especially if you have like kids to feed. And so like, and then we're going to, on the rare occasion the parents get to go to the movies, they get a film that shames them for not going to more little league games because they're spending time at the office. Yeah, they're spending time at the office so that kid can have a bat,
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna get visited by 3 spirits
Yes.
by watching watching all these Hallmark movies for my job. I mean, it's I mean, all of us are doing whatever we can right now to I mean, if we're lucky if we do have a job right now.
Exactly. Yeah,
We're
yeah, yeah.
lucky if we can work hard and overwork.
And so the idea that Jacob Marley spent too much time at the office and didn't have a personal life is like, well, those are the chains you forged in life, and there's no stakes here at all.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Like this all basically hinges upon, are she and Wes Brown going to get back together, not are you going to ruin the lives of everyone around you and then spend eternity in torment. Like it's a slight different weight there.
She films this a commercial in the past for this cookie company that she's trying to help that she's trying to help out. And I thought it was interesting. It was because this is now the second movie that Jesse Schramm has filmed a cookie commercial
right. I forgot about that.
that she's a director of a cookie commercial with the birthday wish, which is one of my favorites. I love that.
And that other one, they at least bother to show her the future, which they couldn't do here.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that in that one, if people haven't seen it, she gets this. I think it's very smart. She gets this quick little glimpse of her future, of what it could be like with Luke McFarlane and a monkey hat.
Yes.
And that one I think is really good.
Not to be confused with Shoe Addict's Christmas, which is another movie in which somebody gets a glimpse at their future life.
Yeah. Yeah, that one is also all about a workaholic who is taught to not work so hard.
Exactly. Get your paying job to go pursue the arts.
Yeah. Oh yeah, become a photographer. That Hallmark loves photographers.
Oh, do they
It's
ever?
favorite
And they're never good.
group.
They're never good. You know, it's
No,
like maybe spend a little bit of that budget on hiring someone to take some good pictures so that we'll think that,
yeah,
yes, you should leave your job to become a photographer and not, oh, no, don't do that.
right. Yeah. Uh, and so they find out that they have to change the order of the show,
Mm.
and this is a live show being put on Christmas Day.
Well,
All right.
it's live to tape, is what they say. So, like, they shoot it as a live thing, but then it airs later on the holiday.
On later that day, but it is being filmed on. Isn't it being filmed on Christmas?
Maybe I got very lost on what the timeline of this film was, but they make it a point to talk early in the film about how it's live to tape.
Yeah, and so she's going to have to tell Belinda about that Alexis the younger singer is taking over her first spot.
Yeah,
And this
another moment that makes zero sense in the terms of how like actual show business works. Because if you've got somebody who's like a big established star, they are not gonna sit down for that one, and they're certainly gonna have not just like their one handsome manager there to kind of go, oh, I guess that's what we got to do now. Like that. This is when the lawyers come out and like walkouts are threatened. Like it is not
yeah.
just go. I guess that's what's gonna happen now.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I guess I can understand the new hot star, getting the
The sweet
first
spot, yeah.
placement, but so late in the game, probably unlikely.
Also, if you have the hot star, you want to put them last because you want people to stay tuned to your 2 hour
Yeah,
live
good point.
show.
Yeah. Well, they end up Sarah Evans and Raylene end up meeting up in the
At the Christmas
festival.
festival, yeah.
Yeah, and they sing and Rockin' Little Christmas,
Mm.
and that was fun. They did have more music than I was expecting, because sometimes, like for instance, Dollywood, had no dollies
That's true.
singing.
Yeah. Or, Mariah not singing in her own movie.
Yeah, yeah. So I appreciated that. I did think that Wes and Jesse had pretty good chemistry. I think that Wes can have he has pretty good chemistry with most of his
Look,
partners, I think.
he fireman's carried Kelly Pickler through 2 movies, so
Yep.
clearly he can do anything. Yeah, they're fine. They read as a couple. Like you buy them together, and they seem well matched.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't.
It would have been kind of, I mean, Jessie Schramm's a lot better actress than Kelly Pickler, of
Well,
course. But it
you
would
are a
have
much
been
better actress than Kelly Pickler.
it would have been kind of fun if she had been able to be in this in some way. I feel like maybe.
It would have made some sense, but frankly, if they never cast her again, I'm perfectly okay with that. Bless her heart, as we say.
It's the
in
one
the
she
South.
would have fit in, at least.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it would have. I would buy her as a country music TV producer more than I would buy her as a Chicago investment banker. I'll
Yeah.
say that much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's another movie that, as far as music, where they sang Silent Night literally 9 times.
Yes.
In that
That's the
movie.
one song. Like, there's a lot of Christmas music in the public domain. I don't know why it's always Silent Night with these, but
Yeah.
at least nobody dances to Silent Night in this movie. It always drives me crazy.
Yeah, and so Jessie Schramm ends up getting the job at the end,
Mhm.
and she's able to commute and do the awards show in
That's another
LA.
thing. It's like, okay, we're going to give you this job to produce this one award show, and that's going to require you to move to Los Angeles. No, that's not
Probably
how that
not.
works
Probably
either.
not.
It's not a big deal. They're going to let you stay in Nashville. That's a thing you can do.
There's airplanes. Those are a thing.
There's the
yeah.
internet, which Hallmark to this day continues to be eluded by.
Right. And so then I would think that they would have made a bigger deal of the fact that here she's having, through her business, she's having to kind of betray Belinda, and she's so mad and huffy at Gavin for betraying her,
This is
that,
true.
that would be sort of more of a
A mirror moment.
yeah. But I don't know, it's interesting. So they end up she shows him the video from when he was a little kid,
Right.
saying that his best friend is Vivian.
And he
And
remembers this clearly, like to the point where he says, "I thought you said
mm,
we were out of tape." I'm like, okay, uh, who remembers this stuff from when you're 10 years old, except in a Hallmark movie where you pretty much the Hallmark universe exists not too far away from the Twilight universe in terms of like childhood imprinting. Like
oh
you,
yeah.
if you liked a boy when you were 8, dad gummit, you're going to be engaged to him by the end of this movie.
Yeah. So we do 1 to 5 in our. Of course, they end up together at the
Mm,
end. It's very exciting.
of course,
So we do 1 to 5 crowns
yeah.
on our scale. So what would you give this film?
I think like a 2. And that's purely for Winona. I think just so much of this movie it just feels poorly thought out, and just the elephant in the room is, why is this a Christmas Carol? If you're not going to give me a
Yeah.
Scrooge, don't do a Christmas Carol. And so yeah, I'm not down for this.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 3.25. I had fun with it. I had fun watching it. But yeah, I agree. I think it's a missed opportunity. I really like Jesse and Wes. They're two of my favorites
Hmm.
from Hallmark. So I think that went a long way. And I liked all of the country music stars. That was fun. But yeah, I think don't be so afraid to make your characters unlikable. I mean,
Take
it's okay.
yeah,
They can have a growth. They can have an arc.
take us on a journey.
Yeah.
These movies love to reference It's a Wonderful Life, but they're so terrified of doing anything like what It's a Wonderful Life does in terms of where it takes the audience. It's like, yeah, let them be bad, and then when they become when it goes when they're good, it means something.
Yeah. Next up, we have Feliz NaviDAD. This was on the Lifetime channel, and this stars Mario Lopez and Annalyn McCord. And it is about David Morales, an Arizona high school principal and single dad, has lost the holiday spirit after also losing his wife a few years ago during the Christmas season. Now, David will do anything to avoid Christmas, so he moonlights as a delivery driver during the holidays. But this year, David's 14-year-old daughter, Noelle, and his live in sister, Marissa, are determined to bring the Yuletide spirit back to the family, and with a little luck, also help David find love again via online dating. So when Sophie, a witty musician and customer on David's delivery route, swipes right on him, something magical happens between them. And what did you overall think about this film?
Well, I'll tell you, I am a sucker for handbells, so I did enjoy that aspect of it. And I like Annalyn McCord in these. Like, she did one Hallmark movie and then sort of never came back. And it's weird because, I actually did watch the 90210 reboot. And so I would have thought that either she or Shanae Grimes would have been like the new queen of Hallmark. I would not have expected Jessica Lowndes to come from behind and really like take that spot. This movie overall is, I like her a lot. I I found it a little contrived, mainly because like Mario Lopez has entered that stage in his career where he can't stop presenting. Like he's the Access Hollywood guy. He's the guy who keeps popping up on your hotel television every time you turn it on. And so I think sometimes that bleeds into the performance, where it felt like to me he was less playing a character than he was hosting a talk show.
Yeah, there some of the acting was not the best in this, and but there were things in the script that I really liked. Uh, I liked the fact that he makes a totally relatable mistake
Mm,
with forgetting to get the gloves,
right.
and I mean, what parent can't relate? What person can't relate to being like, I totally screwed up. I'm so sorry.
Ah, true. We
You know,
don't get that moment very often in these movies.
yeah, like allowing your speaking of allowing your characters to be flawed. That was such like most of the time it's just you're sort of a generic bad man of business, or
Right.
you are, you're just overworking or things. But this was like such a relatable screw up, I felt like.
Yeah, no, that part definitely works, and there are some fun supporting characters. I thought Annalyn McCord's dad was sort of eccentric and interesting.
Hmm.
I liked the ice cream guy who was all moved to hear the daughter and Annalyn McCord have a conversation about the dead mom. Um, which is, I think, one of the few parts of the movie where the dead mom subplot really kind of rang true. I think, again, two turtle doves. I've been spoiled now. I want these movies, if they're going to go there,
Yeah.
to treat it realistically. And so there's this whole thing where we find out he doesn't really have to do the UPS job, that he's really just doing it because he can't wrap his head around being around for Christmas and dealing with the Christmas stuff because it reminds him too much of her. And I think in a better movie they would have sold that more, but this one just, it was very like, well, for one thing, you're very clearly telling me and not showing me, and also because Mario Lopez doesn't ever go to a grief place because he's too busy, like getting us ready for the next guest,
Hmm. Yeah. uh it's true, but I felt like their relationship was pretty well done as far as father and daughter, and that was really the emphasis on the movie, I thought, was on father daughter versus father,
Girlfriend.
and girlfriend. I mean,
True.
that was more the emphasis, which I appreciated. And I also appreciated that this film really had dating in it. Like a
Mm,
lot of these movies, it might surprise people to know that they're not really about dating. They're about, most of the time, either with somebody that you work with,
right.
or
We have to
somebody
plan
that
a
you
festival
knew.
together.
Yeah, somebody that you knew from high school. So you're not really like dating. And this was kind of fun to see him go on all these different dates. I mean, it takes a it's a little unbelievable, the idea that, oh yeah, Mario Lopez is gonna have a hard time finding dates, but
Exactly.
nevertheless, if you accept that he goes on all these dates. And I did think it was really funny, the date where, where his partner's like, here's my therapist card.
That's maybe my favorite scene, because usually in a movie like this, when somebody's going on a bunch of dates, it's this sort of cavalcade of stereotype goofballs like the one that director Melissa Joan Hart plays in her cameo here. But yeah,
Uh-huh.
that last date, it's like, oh no, there's nothing wrong with her. You're the one who's messed up. And so the idea that she's like, I'm going to leave now. Here's my therapist number. Check, please. That
Yeah,
was a nice touch. I like that a
it
lot.
was
And,
it
and
was funny.
I think the dating stratagem, again, that's a clever way to deal with the whole like not having crowd scenes. We're in a pandemic thing, because that's a lot of one-on-one scenes, and so it's easier to get those people, quarantined or whatever. But definitely in the big like performance at the end, that to me felt like there's a lot of empty seats in this auditorium.
Yeah. What did you think of the acapella thing in the movie?
I like the idea of it. I like the Pitch Perfect, at least the first Pitch Perfect.
Yeah.
I wish the rivals weren't so obviously like auto tuned, and like if they'd had one of them beatboxing instead of this like rhythm track that comes from nowhere, like that would have maybe landed it more. But I did think like their big song where they were doing Feliz NaviDAD and they go from the handbells into the vocals, that was actually like, if you're gonna make me wait a whole movie for like, this is our big showstopper that we're gonna win regionals or whatever, like that actually kind of felt like it merited the hype.
Hmm.
But again, I'm such a sucker for handbells at the holidays. Like that, if you put me in
I
front
didn't
of a
know that
handbell,
about you.
oh yeah,
Very good.
there's sadly one of the things I'm not doing this year is we make an annual trek down to South Coast Plaza, which is this huge mall in Orange County. Like it's the kind of mall that has like an adjunct second mall that you have to walk a bridge to get to, and they have a Christmas tree that is literally decorated with other Christmas trees. Anyway, if there's a handbill choir, I'm not moving until they're done. That is so my thing. So I thought
Well,
that was a neat thing that we don't see a lot in these movies.
if you if you ever come out to Sundance, if they ever have Sundance Normal again,
Mm.
I'll take you to the bell choir here.
Okay,
The Tabernacle Choir has a whole bell choir
all right, it's on.
part of, yeah. It's pretty fun. um, yeah. I loved the first Pitch Perfect movie. It was one of my favorite comedies I've ever seen. The second and the third especially,
Yeah.
hated so
Diminishing
much.
returns.
Third one, um, but and I do love acapella. That was a big thing in at BYU at my college.
Mm.
That's very popular.
Ah.
So it was fun, and I agree. They they could have
There's a joke
dialed
here
down
about
the
there's a joke here about the Mormon poofs, but I won't make
yeah.
it.
Okay. I was thinking, like Pentatonics? Did they co-produce this thing? Like, what is
Yeah,
happening here? Because they seemed so much like them.
very
Uh,
predictable.
and I think it would have been better if it just seemed like a normal high school choir. Like
Yeah, I mean,
it would have been fun.
like you can be a really good high school choir and be intimidating to these folks
Yeah.
who are being coached by a literal coach, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was. But again, if I recall correctly, this one was made pretty early in the post first. No, I don't know. Epidemiologists
Yeah.
can
This
argue
was
whether there's been a
pretty.
post first wave. Anyway, this was made like in the summer, like when nobody was doing anything, and suddenly like, no, we're doing this one, And so I guess
Yeah.
they had to make the best out of what they could get their hands on.
So this is the second one that Lifetime has done this season with, I guess you might say, Latinx kind of
Mm-hmm.
feeling to it. I don't know. Um, with Christmas Yule blog, the
Yeah.
big thing seems to be, well, let's make tamales.
Yes.
That's instead of cookies.
It's yeah. I mean, I appreciate the specificity. Some of it felt a little wedged in. Like, let's talk about pozole and luminarias. And as my parents were born in Spain and not Mexico, but definitely as I grew up in a bilingual household. I don't think the actors always kind of nail the way that people transition back and forth from English to Spanish in the course of a sentence. And so, like, there are certain words that, yes, you are going to like really pronounce in that Spanish way, even if you're speaking English. But if I'm speaking a sentence in English and the last word is piñata, I'm going to say piñata and not piñata. But that's just me. Other people may take it their own way. But when I'm watching these, I feel very consciously that, okay, they're really selling this whole, like, what was the first Hallmark movie this year? Jingle Bell Bride, where it was like, Tia, they were really like letting us know immediately, like Spanish, Spanish, Spanish,
Oh yeah.
But better that than invisibilities for sure.
Yeah. If people want a great example of what you're saying as far as the mixing of the English and the Spanish, this is a feature film, but there's a movie Everybody Loves Somebody from a couple of years. I don't know if you ever saw that,
I don't think I
but
did.
it's a really good rom-com that is it makes so much sense because when she's with her family, she's speaking Spanish,
Right.
but when she's with the boyfriend, she's speaking, and it has a fake fiance and some other stuff
Oh
involved.
wow.
It's really fun.
Okay.
But she's speaking English at work and with the boyfriend and other things, and she moves in between speaking Spanish and speaking English,
They
which
they do it. They
you
do
almost
it.
never see.
Yeah, well, they do it really well on the new Netflix One Day at a Time, which I guess is now the Pop
Oh
TV One
yeah.
Day at a Time. Like, they very smoothly do that thing of the way that bilingual people talk to each other, and like, you lean into the Spanish with with the grandmother, but you lean into the English with the kids, but you're still going to throw in this word or that word that you either can't translate or it sounds better in the other language or whatever. But it's hard to do it and make it sound organic, and it wasn't always organic in this movie. But again, I appreciate the effort, and I'm glad that they're trying to reach out. I'm so glad that Lifetime's giving us an Asian American film this year, because
Yeah.
again, I feel like me and the bubbly sesh and a couple of the people it's our ongoing crusade of making Cardi Wong a romantic lead.
Yes,
So.
they had a trailer promo for that and for the Christmas setup
Uh-huh.
it, during Feliz NaviDAD. I was just like, yay! So excited. So overall, I enjoyed this. It was cute. It has its flaws, but it was fun for me. So I would give this one Feliz NaviDAD. I'd give it a 3.75.
Okay. I'll say like a 2.8. I think there is some fun stuff. I wish they had given us a more compelling male lead. But I do like a lot of the ambience, love the handbells, and I liked there's some ideas here. It was better than I feared it might be.
Yeah. Well, let us know if you're listening what you think of these films. We'd really love to hear in the comment section or on Twitter. That would be great. And Alonso, how can people find you and all of your podcasts and all of your content?
Well, let's see. Probably the easiest thing is to follow me on Twitter at Duralde, ADURALDE. I post links to other stuff, but my other shows are also on Twitter at LinoleumCast, at BeFastAllDay, at Who Shot Ya Pod, and at Film and Movie Pod. And then you read my stuff at thewrap.com, THEWRAP. And my book, Have Yourself a Movie Little Christmas, is available on Amazon as a tangible book or a Kindle, and at other places where you get books.
Great. And we'll have all that information in the description so you can all check it out. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. And make sure you're following the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast all over social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. It helps us so much. And leave them for Alonso's podcast too.
Thanks. And support Rachel's Patreon.
Yes, please. We have a really awesome watch along coming up with we're going to watch A Heavenly Christmas with author screenwriter Greg McBride. Cool. And he is hilarious and the best, and so that's going to be really that's a Hallmark Hall of Fame, so that'll be really fun. And so check that out. And we also have our merch store, which has tons of fun festive designs. So please take a look at that. And thanks so much, Alonso. Really appreciate it. It's always so great to talk with you. And I hope you have a very, very Merry Christmas.
Same to you. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.